Salazar, who is the vice-ranking member of our Western Hemisphere Subcommittee.
Thank you. Thank you. And Madam Ambassador, thank you for being here today. And we met in Ecuador last month. President Biden made an excellent choice in sending you to the presidential inauguration in Quito. I look forward to continue working with you and continue our conversations like we had in Ecuador. And I'm sure I'm the last one, so I'm sure that all these topics have been discussed, but maybe I'm going to ask them in a different fashion. And I would like to talk about vaccines. As you know, the Biden administration recently announced they're donating $500 million. I would like everyone everywhere in the world to understand that these vaccines are paid by us, by the Americans, by the taxpayers. Would you like to see that too?
Absolutely, and I think people will know. They want our vaccines, and they've asked us for vaccines, and they are pleased to hear about, I mean, you heard it in Ecuador. They're pleased to hear that we are making this donation, and we should absolutely take credit for it.
And but when we distribute through the United Nations, we use third parties. And don't you think that we should have the American flag on those vaccines like the Russians and the Chinese do it?
I haven't seen it. I don't know, but I just think we should be, we should get credit for it, and we should own it, and people should know that they're getting a contribution.
But how are they going to know it if they don't see it on the vaccines? Like the Russians and the Chinese make sure that they know those
They
vaccines
haven't even, they've made commitments, but we haven't seen them give very much. But again, I don't know what the UN is doing in terms of flagging the vaccines.
They're
and
not.
what the possibilities are, but I absolutely think we need to be recognized for what we're doing.
All right, and let's talk about Nicaragua. I'm sure that we have spoken about it before. You know, Ortega has jailed 4 presidential candidates. He has declared himself a dictator. Clearly, he is not afraid of our economic sanctions. Clearly, he is in the business of power and not in the business of democracy. So I would like to ask you, how much time, effort, and energy are you willing to invest in rallying the international community to denounce, isolate Ortega for what he's doing?
Well, I can say without any hesitation that we have made our views known on the situation in Nicaragua, and we're deeply concerned about what is happening there, and we want to keep the spotlight on the situation there.
What do you think we could do?
We've called on, for example, President Ortega and the Nicaraguan government to release immediately all of the political prisoners and civil society and opposition leaders.
But they do the opposite. The more we talk, the more they incarcerate.
And we got to keep ramping up the pressure on them.
All right.
Constantly, and in the region as well.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Israel. And as Congresswoman Malliotakis was saying, at this hour in 2021, the Human Rights Council, which most people do not understand, is that body within the United Nations that promotes human rights in the world. It has Cuba, Venezuela, China, and Russia. That's a farce. That's a joke. Cuba, all right, you know, Cuba chops off the hands of dissidents. I have a couple of those in my district. China is killing the Uyghurs for being Muslims. Russia is poisoning and assassinating their political opponents. And Venezuela, at this hour, 20 years later, the average Venezuelan weighs 15 pounds less for lack of food. And they have the largest reserves of oil in the world. So that goes to prove to you that socialism and communism doesn't work. So, like I said, it's a farce. So, and at that moment, those countries have the gall to criticize Israel for defending itself. So I just want to see how you feel about this.
Well, I think it's appalling that we have human rights violators sitting on the Human Rights Council.
And then what can we do about it?
And
we pay 22% of their budget, so it's $1 billion.
And I think it is important that we sit there with these human rights violators and push against them and work with all of the other members. There are 4 among a lot of other countries that need to have our backing and support.
And do they want to work with us?
Some of them do, and many of them don't always have the power.
And if they don't, then what do we do about it?
The ones that want to work with us, we work with them. We're pushing
And the ones
back
that don't?
against the unfair targeting of Israel. And we have been able to have some success in pushing back against some of the resolutions that they have brought against Israel. And we will keep fighting. But our voice is important, and I would argue very strongly, without us being there, we would just be allowing the bad actors to take over this organization.
At this hour, what concerns you the most? I think my time is up, but you know, you've had a seat at the international table now for a few months. You're doing a great job. What concerns you? What keeps you up at night?
Expired.
All right, so just 15 seconds. What's your main concern?
It's civilians being caught in conflict and how we can protect innocent women and children and others who are caught in conflict.
Long live the United States.
Thank you.